Part 168. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1681. The heavyweight emperor immortal who could make Bodhi Patriarch come out to greet him personally was Daodi Tianzun, one of the three great celestial masters, also known as Tais Hang Lejun. This emperor immortal was at the first echelon level in the entire heaven, and his status and identity were similar to those of Bodhi Patriarch, so Bodhi Patriarch came out to greet him personally. When Tais Hang Lejun arrived, all the emperor immortals who had arrived before came out to greet him. Among them were Erlang Shen, Wuifang Shendi, Santan Haihui Great God Neza, and Pagoda Heavenly King Li Jing, who all came out respectfully to greet him. Moreover, Wu Yu also asked Nanshan Wanjiao and the other three to stay in the Fusion Tower and come out with him to watch. For people of the same level as Bodhi Patriarch, whose status and identity even far exceeded that of Erlang Zhenjun, it was also very good for Wu Yu and the others to see him. When Wu Yu and Zhuexing Emperor Immortal appeared outside the Bodhi Hall and followed Bodhi Patriarch to greet Tais Hang Lejun, many Emperor Immortals nearby cast some impolite glances at him. For example, among the four heavenly kings, the heavenly king Chiguo, Wu Yu killed his brother Mo Lion, and this hatred could not be reconciled at all. If he had not promised Bodhi Patriarch before that he would write off all the things with Wu Yu, he would probably have made trouble as soon as he arrived here. As for now, because he had promised Bodhi Patriarch before that everything would be written off, it was not convenient for him to mention this matter again. Just thinking of his brother Mo Lion, the heavenly king Chiguo could not control the murderous intent in his heart. If there was a chance, he would never let Wu Yu go, and now, this Emperor Immortal trial was a good opportunity. Of course, Wu Yu felt the unfriendly eyes of the heavenly king Chiguo and other Emperor Immortals, but he ignored it. With Bodhi Patriarch here, these Emperor Immortals could not attack him, even in secret. The only way to deal with him was in the Emperor Immortal trial. During the Emperor Immortal trial, these people might use some tricks, or let other immortal kings participating in the Emperor Immortal trial target him and eliminate him in the Emperor Immortal trial. However, these immortal kings who participated in the Emperor Immortal trial were nothing to Wu Yu. He could even defeat Mo Lion, the second level of the Eternal Emperor Immortal. Why should he be afraid of these immortal kings? There were just a few people among them who needed to be paid attention to, such as Erlang Shen's son, Yang Jian, and Neza's son, Li Tianji. These were all very strong opponents, and Wu Yu would not underestimate them. Of course, he would not take others lightly, lest he capsize in the gutter, which would be more trouble than gain. Wu Yu knew that Bodhi Patriarch asked him to participate in the Emperor Immortal trial, and he must want him to win the first place. After experiencing the test of the heavenly demon battlefield, it was obvious that Bodhi Patriarch valued him very much, and he could not let him down. Soon, Tais Hang Lejun came from outside the Bodhi Hall with two boys on the cloud. He had an immortal look and a smile on his face. When he saw Bodhi Patriarch, he had an obvious smile on his face. "Bodhi, we meet again." The voice of Tais Hang Lejun was very peaceful, with white shirt and white hair, and a contented look. Compared with the friendliness of Bodhi Patriarch, this top emperor looked more round and less sharp, and seemed extremely gentle. Wu Yu stared at Tais Hang Lejun. When he saw this spirited white-bearded emperor, he couldn't help but think of some scenes he had seen before. That was in the Eternal Emperor Burial, and in the Saint Kishan. He had seen this person among those who destroyed the demon god realm and besieged the Monkey King. Tais Hang Lejun, the heavenly lord of morality, this top figure in the entire heaven, now appeared in front of Wu Yu. However, no matter how Wu Yu looked at it, he could not see that the other party had the fierce temperament when he destroyed the demon god realm and besieged the Monkey King. At this moment, Tais Hang Lejun was like Bodhi Patriarch, like a spring breeze, and his words were like spring breeze and drizzle, which made people feel very comfortable. Suddenly, Wu Yu remembered something that he had never noticed before. That is, among the many emperors and gods of heaven who destroyed the demon world and besieged the Monkey King, it seemed that Bodhi Patriarch was not seen. He seemed to have some understanding in his heart, but it was possible that he just saw it wrong and did not notice Bodhi Patriarch at that time. In any case, the destruction of the demon world and the fact that all the gods in the heavens seemed to have lost their memories were the most important secrets for Wu Yu, and he had to find out clearly. Lejun has come to my humble home. I am sorry for not welcoming you from afar. Please forgive me. Come in quickly. Bodhi Patriarch was also very polite to Taizhang Lejun, with a spring breeze on his face. With the arrival of Taizhang Lejun, the scene quickly became lively. Even Erlang Shen and the five saints greeted him with smiles and respected Taizhang Lejun very much. Obviously, Taizhang Lejun's status was unmatched by these emperors and gods. Wu Yu stayed behind Bodhi Patriarch until Taizhang Lejun greeted all the emperors and came to Bodhi Patriarch. He glanced at Wu Yu and said with a smile, "This is your new disciple, Wu Yu, right? I have heard about his deeds. This kid is a talented person. Congratulations to the Patriarch for receiving such a talented disciple. It is a cause for celebration." Hearing what he said, the heavenly King Chiguo and the others were not happy, but they could not say anything in front of Taizhang Lejun. Of course, they thought that Taizhang Lejun was just praising Wu Yu on the surface to give face to Bodhi Patriarch. Taizhang Lejun was such a person, how could he be interested in Wu Yu? But Bodhi Patriarch looked quite happy. He laughed and said, "Thank you for the compliment." This inferior disciple made a big mistake right after entering the section. It was his good fortune to be able to get out of the battlefield of the demons. It depends on him how he will go in the future. This chapter is not over yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading. Both of them are the top emperors of the heavenly court. Of course, their attention will not always be on Wu Yu. As they chatted, they soon talked about other places. Taizhang Lejun paid attention to Wu Yu, and naturally he would not leave out other young immortal kings. For example, Yang Jian, the son of Erlang Shen, and Li Tianji, the son of Neza, were praised by Taizhang Lejun. However, because Taizhang Lejun actually noticed and praised Wu Yu first, Erlang Shen and Neza were a little unhappy. Of course, they would not show it on the surface and were still polite. Yang Jian and Li Tianji did not come. I don't know where they went. Wu Yu wanted to take this opportunity to see what his opponent looked like, but he didn't expect them to not come. It was Neza, the great god of the three altars sea assembly, that Wu Yu observed for a long time. Standing with the pagoda-bearing heavenly king Li Jing, the temperament of the father and son was amazing. Each of them had the momentum that was not inferior to that of Erlang Shen. Such an existence was the second-tier emperor immortal in the heavenly court. Because the father and son of the pagoda-bearing heavenly king Li Jing were both very powerful, their status in the heavenly court was slightly higher than that of Erlang Shen. It can be seen that in the heavenly court, if the offspring can achieve remarkable achievements, their own status can also be improved. Therefore, Yang Jian is quite looking forward to his son Yang Jian. After tens of thousands of years, Yang Jian may be able to grow to the same level as him. At that time, the status of the father and son in the heavenly court will definitely be improved a lot. This Emperor Immortal trial is the ladder for Yang Jian to advance towards the Emperor Immortal. If he loses to Li Tianji, then Erlang Shen's family will lose a lot more compared to the pagoda-bearing heavenly king Li family. Li Tianji is the last opponent. Before that, there is Wu Yu who needs to be dealt with. Erlang Shen glanced at Wu Yu and seemed not to pay much attention to him. In fact, he still paid great attention to him. After all, Wu Yu was able to defeat Mo Lion, who was at the second level of the Emperor Immortal realm. However, Erlang Shen had confidence in his son and did not worry too much. After everyone exchanged greetings, Wu Yu said goodbye to Bodhi Patriarch and left first. The Emperor Immortal trial will begin in the last month. Next, he has to consolidate his various magical powers and methods. Including Tai's Hanglajun, all the Emperor Immortals who came to Fangkuntian lived in the Changliu Palace. The young immortal kings who participated in the Emperor Immortal trial often exchanged some cultivation experiences with each other in the Changliu Palace. For most young immortal kings, this Emperor Immortal trial was basically just a formality to get to know other outstanding juniors in the heavenly court. Some of them have been stuck in the realm of the Nine Heavens Immortal King for a long time. It is not so easy to step into the realm of the Eternal Emperor Immortal. Although the eternal battlefield is an opportunity, it is really difficult to get the first place in the Emperor Immortal trial. What's more, there are two evildoers, Yang Jian and Li Tianji, and Wu Yu. Many immortal kings have given up hope. They met the top emperors this time, and some elders can give them some advice, which can also benefit them a lot. Of course, there are also many young immortal kings who still have hope for the Emperor Immortal trial and don't give up so quickly. In Changliu Palace, the four heavenly kings, the ancient giant spirit god, and Erlang Shen, they gathered in a palace in the Changliu Palace to talk about some things. Thinking of this kid Wu Yu, I really can't reconcile. Besides, we have been entangled with such a little guy, which really makes me lose face, the ancient giant spirit god said hatefully. He couldn't let go of his hatred for Wu Yu and wanted to get rid of Wu Yu at once. If the dispute continued like this, the face of the ancient giant spirit god would be almost lost. He had heard rumors before that many emperors were talking about how they were targeting a little guy. So this made the giant spirit god very unhappy and he didn't want to let Wu Yu go. However, Erlang Shen said coldly, "We have promised Bodhi Patriarch to write off this Wu Yu. We can't show up again, otherwise it will be a joke. Do you want to be more embarrassed?" The ancient giant spirit god was even more unhappy after hearing this. Could it be that he, a great giant spirit god, couldn't even deal with a little guy who hadn't reached the level of an emperor? At this moment, a cold and emotionless voice came from the side, "Since he is going to participate in the emperor trial, if you meet him in the trial, just kill him. Why bother?" Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 1682. When this cold voice came, all the emperors in the field showed joy on their faces. The person who came was Yang Jian, the son of Erlang Shen. Yang Jian. Yang Jian walked out from the side. Like Yang Jian, he had 3 eyes, but at this moment, the third eye was closed, and it was obvious that it would not open until the critical moment. What was revealed from his eyes was an indescribable coldness and bloodthirstiness. Even compared with Yang Jian was dressed in black and his expression was even more indifferent, as if he was a killing machine, bloodthirsty and ruthless. Then Wu Yu was able to kill Mo Lion, who was at the second level of the emperor. His strength is not bad. If he can reach the late stage of the emperor trial and I meet him, I will kill him. You don't have to worry about it. Yang Jian continued to speak indifferently, without any emotion in his voice, as if the whole hall was filled with chills. Even though the strength of many emperors in the field far exceeded Yang Jian, they still couldn't help but sigh for Yang Jian's murderous intention. I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow. This kid is really the most decent one among Yang Jian's descendants. As long as he can step into the emperor, it will be smooth sailing. No one knows what level he will reach. At least with Yang Jian's talent, it is not impossible to reach Yang Jian's level. If there are some special opportunities, he may even surpass Yang Jian. Of course, the process is extremely long, at least millions of years later. During this process, once you fall, nothing will be left. Even if you become an emperor, the promotion process is extremely difficult, but you have achieved immortality, so you don't need to worry about the arrival of your lifespan, and you can focus all your attention on cultivation. Yang Jian's words made Yang Jian quite satisfied. Yang Jian was also a little annoyed with Wu Yu. This kid appeared in front of him repeatedly, but he couldn't deal with him. It really made him unhappy. Now Wu Yu is going to participate in the Emperor Immortal trial. Let Yang Jian deal with Wu Yu in the trial, and the problem will be solved perfectly. The four heavenly kings and the giant spirit god looked at each other and nodded. With Yang Jian, they didn't need to think about dealing with Wu Yu for the time being. This matter could be left to Yang Jian. If Yang Jian couldn't handle it, then the juniors in the entire heavenly court who had not reached the Emperor Immortal level would not be able to be Wu Yu's opponent. I just don't know what Bodhi Patriarch was thinking. He prepared a quota for Wu Yu in advance. Did he expect that this kid could come out alive from the heavenly demon battlefield? The only thing that the Emperor Immortal in the field was worried about was Bodhi Patriarch's attitude. Of course, their worries were useless, and if Wu Yu was dealt with in the Emperor Immortal trial, even Bodhi Patriarch would definitely have nothing to say. Next, they just need to wait for the Emperor Immortal trial to begin. The ancient giant spirit god, the heavenly king Chiguo, and others all showed a fierce light in their eyes, as if they had seen the scene where Wu Yu was killed by Yang Jian in the Emperor Immortal trial. At the same time, in a secret realm in Fangkun Tian, 3 young people were playing. This secret realm is called Yun Hai Tian, which is an endless sea of snow-white clouds. In this sea of clouds, there lives a kind of god of all things, named Yunling Beast, which is a creature born directly from heaven and earth. Each one is like a cloud and has always lived peacefully in this Yun Hai Tian. In Fangkun Tian, these Yunling beasts are a symbol of peace. Since ancient times, the gods of Fangkun Tian have protected these Yunling beasts from being harmed. Yunling beasts are harmless to humans, so they are regarded as mascots and represent auspiciousness in Fangkun Tian. Generally speaking, with Bodhi Patriarch in charge of Fangkun Tian, no one would mess around here and attack the cloud spirit beast. But now, 3 young immortal kings with great backgrounds came here, playing here, and still capturing cloud spirit beasts. The first one was a young man in white wearing a brocade robe. He had handsome features, a rebellious look, and a look of arrogance and mischief in his eyes. He was the son of Neza, the great god of the 3 altars and seas, Li Tianji, and also the grandson of Li Jing, the pagoda heavenly king. Li Tianji has been very mischievous since he was born. His nature is not bad, but he is a little unruly, which makes Neza and Li Jing quite headache. Now, he is actually capturing cloud spirit beasts in this Fangkun Tian. Behind him, there are 2 charming young immortal kings. These 2 girls are the 2 girls that Nanshan Wanjiao had seen before and came back to tell Wu Yu and the others. One of them is Fairy Yaoyun, the daughter of Emperor Donghua. She has a top-notch appearance and figure, a sweet smile, and wears a pink dress. She follows Li Tianji in the sea of clouds, and she is always coquettish, with a red face, which is extremely lovable. The other woman is Fairy Lingmi, the daughter of Xianling Domu Yuanzun. This woman has a completely different personality and temperament from Fairy Yaoyun. She wears a black dress and has a particularly sexy figure. However, her eyes are cold, and only when facing Li Tianji will she show a touch of tenderness. Both women like Li Tianji. They usually follow Li Tianji. Basically, wherever Li Tianji goes, they go. Moreover, they have always followed Li Tianji closely, even in terms of their cultivation level. The 3 of them are now at the level of 9 Heavens Immortal King, so they came together to participate in this Emperor Immortal trial. Now in Yunhaitian, the 2 girls have been following Li Tianji in capturing cloud spirit beasts. As long as Li Tianji wants to do something, they will support him and accompany him. Even if it is the cloud spirit beast that is regarded as auspicious, as long as Li Tianji wants to catch it, they will definitely catch it together. On the way to capture the Yunling beast, the 2 women had been tit for tat and jealous. This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. Fairy Yaoju caught a cloud spirit beast, and then showed off to Li Tianji. Tianji, look at the cloud spirit beast I caught, is so cute, like a fairy peach, pink and soft. Not to be outdone, Fairy Lingmai snorted, "What's that? Tianji, do you think this cloud spirit beast looks like your father's Hot Wheels? It's quite memorable to capture it." "So what? I have captured 167 cloud spirit beasts." "What about you?" Fairy Yaoju came to Li Tianji and showed him the cloud spirit beasts she had caught. It was quite impressive. Proud. Fairy Lingmai's black skirt fluttered gracefully in the sea of clouds, revealing her snow-white and alluring skin from time to time. She casually captured another cloud spirit beast, and then said lightly, "This is the 168th one, more than you just won." The two women were constantly jealous, but for Li Tianji, this situation was simply normal. He likes both girls very much, so he takes them with him in everything he does, even watching them is pleasing to the eye. He laughed loudly, "Stop arguing, you have only caught less than 200, and it is the same compared to last. The two of you together can't catch as much as me alone. That's natural. Tianji, you are very brave." "How can we compare?" Fairy Yaoju cooed. She stared at Li Tianji lovingly with a pair of phoenix eyes. "Tianji is naturally powerful, do you still need to tell me?" Fairy Lingmai looked disdainful, and she faced Fairy Yaoju tit for tat, showing no sign of weakness. As two girls, they are considered to be the rarest tyrants among the younger generation in the entire heaven. There are countless young heroes who want to pursue them. Once they pursue one of them, it will be a huge blow to those young heroes. Success. On the one hand, the two women's talents are quite amazing. Even if they are not as good as Li Tianji, the difference is not big. Their future prospects are limitless. On the other hand, behind them is the great Emperor Donghua and the Xianling Dumuyuanzun. They are both super powerful beings in heaven, second only to the top emperors and immortals such as Patriarch Bodhi. Once they get their support, the road to immortality will be long. Is there anything else to worry about? It's a pity that these two women have countless suitors behind them, but they all fall in love with one Li Tianji. This is because Li Tianji is so outstanding. Among the entire younger generation in heaven, his talent is one of the best. Before he could reach the level of Emperor Immortal, he had already killed the beings in the Emperor Immortal realm. This is rare in the entire heaven. What's more important is Li Tianji's character. He is unruly and dares to do anything. It is this kind of fearless temperament that makes Fairy Yaoju and Fairy Lingmai invest all their feelings in him, and they cannot extricate themselves at all. In this regard, even the Donghua Emperor and Xianling Dumuyuanzun behind the two women are powerless. Emotions are the most irritating and must not be forced. Therefore, regarding this situation, Donghua Emperor and Xianling Dumuyuanzun also, we can only let it happen and let nature take its course. On the other hand, Li Tianji's father and grandfather, namely Neza and Li Jing, the king of Tota, were all smiling from ear to ear. No matter which of these two women could marry, it would be a blessing to their family. What a happy event! It depends on what Li Tianji wants to choose, but for now, they still focus on cultivation, and achieving immortality is their biggest goal. In a short period of time, they had captured thousands of Yunling beasts, which had never happened before in Yunhaitian. "Tianji, we are all just here to join in the fun of this Imperial Immortal trial. Only you are qualified to get the first place." After a while, Fairy Yaoyu brought the topic to the Imperial Immortal trial. Not to be outdone, Fairy Lingmai nodded and said, "That's right. Many people say that Yang Jian can compete with you, but in my opinion, that ice cube face is annoying to look at. It's just Yang Jian, he is definitely not your opponent, you must defeat him." "Haha, don't worry. The Emperor Immortal trial is an opportunity to step into eternal life. How could I let it go so easily?" Li Tianji laughed, "On the contrary, I am a little interested in Patriarch Bodhi's new disciple, a boy named Wu Yu. I heard that, like me, he killed an emperor and was punished. He is very like me. Makes me want to meet him, and hope he won't disappoint me. It's 2018. Happy New Year to everyone. The new year brings unexpected transformations and gains. January 8th, a new journey. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1683. Listening to Li Tianji's words, Fairy Yaoyun and Fairy Lingmi both smiled. If Wu Yu meets Tianji, he will definitely not be his opponent. How can he be a disciple of Bodhi Patriarch? Can he compare with Tianji? After hearing this, Li Tianji laughed even more and continued to search in Yunhaitian. Soon he captured thousands of cloud spirit beasts. Just when the three of them were happy, a voice suddenly came from the side, "Everyone, these cloud spirit beasts are auspicious creatures in Fangkuntian. Let's release these cloud spirit beasts quickly." The person who came was Emperor Juexing. He was busy outside. When he passed by Yunhaitian, he took a look and didn't expect to see someone catching cloud spirit beasts. This is forbidden in Fangkuntian, so Emperor Juexing immediately came out to stop it with a serious look. Of course, he recognized the other party's identity. It was Li Tianji, the son of Neza, and the daughter of the great Emperor Donghua and the daughter of Xianling Domu Yuanzun. But he was not afraid. In this small space, the other party would never dare to make a move. The cloud spirit beast has always been protected by the reputation of Bodhi Patriarch, and no one has ever dared to capture it. These creatures represent auspiciousness, so he naturally has to warn them. However, when Juexing Emperor Xian said this, Li Tianji and the others were almost unmoved. Who is this guy? How dare he meddle in our affairs? Li Tianji glanced at Juexing Emperor Xian and didn't take him seriously at all. Fairy Yaoyun had seen Emperor Juexing, so she said softly, "He is one of the disciples of Patriarch Bodhi. Emperor Juexing is the one who lost to Wu Yu before. He made Wu Yu worship under Patriarch Bodhi. It turned out to be this guy." Li Tianji smiled contemptuously and said to Emperor Juexing from a distance, "What dares to meddle in my business? Get out of here if you know what's good for you. Don't disturb my interest, or you will regret it too late. Just let go of these cloud spirit beasts." Emperor Juexing didn't say much, but continued to persuade with a frown. However, Li Tianji didn't appreciate it at all. He was always arrogant and warned him, "If you don't leave, don't blame us for being rude." Emperor Juexing frowned, feeling that the other party's attitude was too hard and he couldn't persuade him at all. It seemed that the other party would not let go of those cloud spirit beasts at all. So Juexing Emperor Xian could only choose to send a message back to Ziyu Sangzing cave to notify others to come and deal with it together. After all, Juexing Emperor Xian also knew that Li Tianji had killed Emperor Xian before, and his strength must be greater than his. Juexing Emperor Xian alone could not be Li Tianji's opponent. If the other party did not obey, he could only ask others to help. Unexpectedly, Li Tianji was furious when he saw Juexing Emperor Xian sending a message. "Good guy, not only did you not leave, but you dared to send a message to notify others to come? Do you really think I'm so easy to mess with?" Li Tianji had a very bad temper and got angry at the slightest. He immediately called Fairy Yaoyun and Fairy Lingmi to attack Juexing Emperor Xian. Even though the three of them had not yet reached the realm of the eternal Emperor Xian, they joined forces to launch an offensive against Juexing Emperor Xian at this time, which actually surpassed the level of ordinary Emperor Xian. The terrifying power surged towards Juexing Emperor Xian. Juexing Emperor Xian hurriedly fought, but he didn't expect that the other party would start fighting as soon as he said it, and he immediately fell into a disadvantage. Ziyu Sangzing Cave. Many people here have received the communication fairy talisman from Juexing Emperor Xian, all of whom are disciples of Bodhi Patriarch, and are Xuexing Emperor Xian's senior and junior brothers. Wu Yu has been in contact with Xuexing Emperor Xian a lot recently, and he has also received his communication fairy talisman. It was Li Tianji who caught the cloud spirit beast in Yunhaishan and made trouble. This Li Tianji is one of the more powerful opponents in the Emperor Xian trial. We can go and see the situation first. Wu Yu thought in his heart, and took Nanshan Wanjiao and the others to gather outside the immortal mansion. This time, it was led by Xuanhuan Emperor Xian. With him as the leader, the group gathered outside the immortal mansion and rushed towards Yunhaishan. Soon they arrived at the beautiful scenery of the floating sea of clouds. However, when they arrived, they saw that Xuexing Emperor Xian had been severely injured. Under the siege of Li Tianji and the two women, Xuexing Emperor Xian could not resist and could only hold on. He was about to be killed by the other party. Stop! Xuanhuan Emperor Xian's eyes were wide open. He and Xuexing Emperor Xian had a good relationship on weekdays. Moreover, Xuexing Emperor Xian and he were both disciples of Bodhi Patriarch. How could he watch Xuexing Emperor Xian being killed in front of him? A group of more than 20 people immediately stepped forward and protected Xuexing Emperor Xian. Li Tianji stopped and flew with the two women not far away, looking at the more than 10 people here with disdain. Even if Wu Yu and the others were more powerful, Li Tianji was not afraid at all, and looked arrogant. What are you doing? You actually hurt people in Fangkuntian, how can you be so shameless? Xuanhuan Emperor Xian snorted at Li Tianji. The other disciples of Bodhi Patriarch and Xuexing Emperor Xian's fellow apprentices were also extremely angry and accused Li Tianji. But Li Tianji was not afraid at all, instead he laughed and said, "You bunch of rubbish, you have no ability to come and provoke me, he is tired of living, who can you blame? Those who know what's good for you, get out of here, don't disturb my interest." Yuan Yundixian and his friends have never seen such an arrogant guy, but he has Neza and the pagoda heavenly king Li Jing standing behind him, so it is normal for him to be so arrogant. After he said this, Yuan Yundixian and his friends were so angry, they had never seen such a shameless person. It was obviously they who hurt people. If it weren't for their fellow apprentices who happened to bring him, Xuexing Emperor Xian would have died in the hands of the other party. Even so, the other party still dared to accuse them with a clear conscience. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. It was wrong for you to capture the cloud spirit beast. If you stop here, just apologize and forget it. Xuanhuan Emperor Xian has a more mellow personality. Even if the other party is arrogant and speaks badly, he doesn't want to continue pursuing it. After all, the other party has a lot of backers behind him, and it is unrealistic to make the other party pay the price. Just apologize and forget it. But for Li Tianji, he didn't know what an apology was. Apologize. What is an apology? Li Tianji snorted lightly and said contemptuously, even if he wants to apologize, he should apologize to me. He dared to disturb me from capturing the cloud spirit beast and made us lose interest. It's really a disappointment. He didn't realize his mistakes at all, as if the whole heaven was centered on him, he was everything, and everyone had to revolve around him. Wu Yu was so angry that he sneered and said, "I thought Li Tianji was a genius, but now I see that he is just a dandy boy." Xuexing Emperor Xian had a good relationship with him. Before entering the demon battlefield, it was Xuexing Emperor Xian who told him some things about the demon battlefield. Otherwise, it would be more difficult for him to come out alive without preparation. Seeing that Xuexing Emperor Xian was seriously injured by the other party without any reason, and even if they didn't come, they would be killed by the other party. How could Wu Yu bear it? Who are you? Do you have the right to speak here? When Li Tianji heard Wu Yu's words, he looked over at him with a condescending look, looking down on Wu Yu, a kid who had not reached the level of Emperor Xian. After he finished speaking, he narrowed his eyes again. "By the way, there should be only one fellow who has not reached the level of Emperor Immortal under Bodhi Patriarch. You are that Wu Yu, right? How dare you talk to me like that? You are so audacious, you are courting death. That's right, don't make my TNG angry, a bunch of ungrateful fellows. Fairy Yao Yun looked at Wu Yu and his men with disdain, not a single one of them was worthy of her attention. Fairy Lingmi was not to be outdone, and immediately said sarcastically, just because you dare to talk to my TNG like this, it's ridiculous, who do you think you are? It seems that not only Li Tianji, but even Fairy Yao Yun and Fairy Lingmi beside Li Tianji have the same personality, all of them are arrogant. This made Emperor Yuan Yun and the others even more angry. They didn't have much affection for Wu Yu, but Wu Yu was obviously on the side of Emperor Zhuexing, and they were also filled with righteous indignation. You are so arrogant, do your elders know? It's outrageous. How come the heavenly court is so chaotic now? Bodhi Patriarch's disciples such as Yuan Yun Emperor Xian started to curse. Suddenly, Li Tianji seemed to see something, and a look of amazement suddenly appeared in his eyes. He ignored Yuan Yun Emperor Xian and the others, and stared at Lupin beside Wu Yu. What's your name? From his eyes, he was attracted to Lupin. As soon as he saw Lupin, he was shocked by her beauty. Lupin was the only one in his eyes. Wu Yu, Yuan Yun Emperor Xian and others beside her were all completely ignored by him. Lupin frowned slightly and ignored him. But Li Tianji didn't care at all, and was extremely excited and asked, "This girl, are you also a disciple of Bodhi Patriarch?" "No, there should be only Wu Yu among the disciples of the Patriarch who is not an Emperor Fairy. Tell me, what is your identity?" This dandy boy was very happy to see her. Even if Luo Ben frowned, he didn't care. He still asked Luo Ben in a condescending manner, wanting to know her name and identity. But Luo Ben naturally ignored her. This made Fairy Yao Yun and Fairy Lingmi behind Li Tianji a little unhappy. They had pursued Li Tianji for so long, but Li Tianji had never shown that he was attracted to any of them. As a result, when he just saw the woman next to Wu Yu, he was shocked and asked questions directly. He also wanted to know her name and identity, which obviously meant that he was pursuing her. The two women took a look at Lupin and felt that she was indeed excellent and looked quite beautiful. Even in the heavenly court, there were few women as beautiful as her. This made them all jealous and developed a hatred for Lupin. "Girl, don't stay with them. They are all a bunch of trash." Li Tianji looked around at Wu Yu and the others with contempt, and then invited Lupin earnestly, "Come to my side, I will let you know that a real immortal will never be so cowardly." Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 1684. I refuse. Luo Ben shook her head bluntly. Of course she couldn't leave with Li Tianji. In fact, this had nothing to do with Li Tianji, but that she had already identified with Wu Yu in her life. No matter who came, it was impossible to replace Wu Yu's position in her heart. Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. And her direct refusal made Li Tianji very embarrassed. His face darkened, and he saw Wu Yu who was beside Luo Ben. The relationship between the two seemed to be very close, and he seemed to have guessed something. This made Li Tianji look at Wu Yu with jealousy and disdain in his eyes. How can such a piece of trash be qualified to be with such a beautiful woman? He thought to himself and became even more unhappy. Just at this time, several figures floated over from a distance. The elders finally noticed the movement here and rushed over. Among them, Neza, the great god of the Santan Haihui, Li Jing, the king of the pagoda, and Patriarch Bodhi were all together. They rushed over and took a look at the field, and basically understood the general situation. "You bastard, why don't you come here quickly?" Neza stepped on the hot wheel with a look of displeasure on his face, thinking to himself that Li Tianji, a kid who usually causes trouble, could just forget about it, but when Fang Kunchen came here, he dared to act randomly. Wouldn't it mean that he was not giving Patriarch Bodhi face? Li Tianji was lawless towards Wu Yu and the others, but he was still a little scared in front of Neza and immediately flew over. However, after Li Jing, the king of Pagoda, asked about the situation, he said with a smile, "It doesn't matter, the juniors will compete with each other and have fun, as long as they don't cause any big trouble." Li Jing has always been doting on his grandson Li Tianji, who is equivalent to a little emperor in the Li family. Even Neza can't do anything to him. When Li Jing was away, Neza could still teach Li Tianji a lesson, but when Li Jing was around, Neza couldn't speak at all. When Li Tianji heard Li Jing's words, he immediately ran to Li Jing's side. He knew very well that the person who doted on him the most was his grandfather, Li Jing, the king of towers. Li Jing helped him solve many of the troubles he usually caused. Fairy Yaoju and Fairy Lingmai also followed Li Tianji and ran behind the elders. Anyway, because of Li Tianji, the Tota king Li Jing also loves Fairy Yaoju and Fairy Lingmai, and hopes that one of them can become his granddaughter-in-law. After Patriarch Bodhi came over, he first took a look at the injury of Emperor Zhuexing, and then used a casual method to stabilize the injury of Emperor Zhuexing. His injuries were more serious than when he was sparring with Wu Yu. If Yuan Emperor and the others hadn't come over, Zhuexing Emperor might have died. However, with Patriarch Bodhi's magical powers, this injury could be easily relieved. Healed. Patriarch Bodhi glanced at Li Tianji with an easygoing attitude and didn't say much. Anyway, nothing happened, and he seemed too lazy to pursue it. No matter how arrogant and domineering Li Tianji was, he should be left to the Li family to teach him a lesson. As for how they taught him a lesson, it had nothing to do with Patriarch Bodhi. In fact, Patriarch Bodhi's expression is gentle now, and no one knows what he is thinking. Perhaps, he didn't care about it at all. It is also possible that he has already thought of a way to solve this matter. No matter which one it is, Wu Yu can't figure it out now. Li Tianji, on the other hand, was restless even when the elders were here. His eyes were still looking towards Luo Bin, with a look of desire in his eyes, which made Fairy Yaoju and Fairy Lingmai even more excited. Accurate. Grandpa, I want to know who that girl is. Li Tianji stood next to Li Jing, the king of pagodas, and pouted at Luo Bin. With Li Jing's love for him, he could make demands without restraint. She. Li Jing, the king of pagoda, had never met Luo Bin before. He had not had any contact with the Shenlong clan recently, so he asked Luo Bin, "Girl, what is your name?" The pagoda in Li Jing's hand was majestic and he was wearing golden immortal armor. When he asked this question, his expression was quite easygoing. He seemed to see that Li Tianji was attracted to Luo Bin, so his attitude was quite good. Junior Luo Bin comes from the Shenlong clan and has met the senior heavenly king. The other party was an elder who asked, so Luo Bin could only answer politely. Anyway, you can know this kind of information just by asking around. There is no need to hide the other party and make the other party unhappy. Lubi, from the Shenlong clan. Li Jing was thoughtful. Li Tianji became excited. He finally knew Luo Bin's name and read it twice. Luo Bin, this name sounds so nice. Grandpa, I want to propose marriage to her, do you think it's okay? When these words came out, Fairy Yaoju and Fairy Lingmai were immediately shocked. They did not expect that Li Tianji wanted to propose marriage to each other as soon as they met. You know, they have been pursuing Li Tianji for countless thousands of years since they were young. Li Tianji didn't say anything. Unexpectedly, he just met Luo Bin and now he wanted to propose marriage to her. This is simply going to piss them off. This made them even more jealous of Luo Bin, and they wished they could cut her alive right now to vent their anger. Based on their understanding of Li Jing, the king of pagodas, no matter what Li Tianji asks for, Li Jing will always find a way to satisfy him, and this time will definitely be no exception. This means that the two of them have always been jealous, and Li Tianji ended up, or did you give it to someone else at a discount? Especially when they saw that Lupin still didn't want to have anything to do with Li Tianji, they felt very upset and secretly cursed Lupin for not knowing what was good for her. She even looked down on Li Tianji, the most outstanding young man in the heavenly court, and she wanted to stay with Wu Yu. She was simply mentally ill. This chapter is not finished yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. As expected, it was just as Fairy Yaoyun and Fairy Lingmi guessed. After hearing Li Tianji say that he wanted to propose to Lupin, Tota Heavenly King actually agreed at once. Okay, Grandpa will come to your house and propose to the Shenlong clan for you. I believe that the Shenlong clan will never refuse this marriage, haha. Li Jing seemed to be happier now, because he finally saw Li Tianji showing his love for a girl, which was a good sign. These words made Lupin and Wu Yu feel a little unbelievable. This pagoda-bearing heavenly king Li Jing and his grandson Li Tianji are really too good, right? Without even figuring out the situation, they decided to propose to Lupin without authorization. Is this the style of the top emperors in the heaven? With their status and position, it seems that no one else can refuse anything they want to do. Before Lupin thought of how to answer, Bodhi Patriarch said with a smile, Li Tianwang, don't be too happy too soon. This little girl has already married the inferior disciple Wu Yu, and I'm afraid she is not suitable to be your granddaughter-in-law. Is that so? The pagoda-bearing heavenly king only then reacted, looking a little surprised, and then smiled, then let it go for now. His doting on Li Tianji has reached the extreme. As long as Li Tianji wants something, he will help him get it, which of course includes women. Seeing that Li Tianji still seemed to be eager to get Lupin and wanted her very much, he didn't say too much. After all, the marriage of the gods in heaven is just like that. If Wu Yu died, wouldn't the marriage be invalid? If Li Tianji still likes her, he can naturally make the decision and let Li Tianji marry Lupin back to the Li family. Of course, the premise is that Wu Yu will die, otherwise even if he is Li Jing, the pagoda-bearing heavenly king, he would not dare to snatch the wife of Bodhi Patriarch's disciple openly. And now the most sensitive topic is the Emperor Immortal trial. Since Wu Yu is going to participate in the Emperor Immortal trial, he may die in the Emperor Immortal trial, which is what Li Jing thinks in his heart. Xuexing Emperor Immortal's injury has been controlled and he should recover soon. The cloud spirit beast captured by Li Tianji and the other three was also ordered by the elders to be released back to Yunhaitian, and the matter is almost over. However, the disciples of Bodhi Patriarch, including Emperor Yuanyuan, Emperor Yuanchan, Emperor Zhuikong, etc., had already developed a lot of hatred for Li Tianji. He was so lawless in Fangkuntian, which was too much of a disdain. Even if Bodhi Patriarch did not intend to pursue it, they were still a little bit angry. On the way back, Emperor Zhuikong, who was young and energetic, went directly to Wu Yu and said angrily, Wu Yu, I still have to ask you. If you meet Li Tianji in the Emperor Immortal trial, you must teach him a lesson and let him know that our Fangkuntian Ziyu Sangzing cave is not so easy to provoke. Don't worry, senior brother. Wu Yu nodded seriously. There is no need for Emperor Zhuikong to say more. If he meets Li Tianji in the Emperor Immortal trial, he will definitely not take it lightly, and it would be best if he can teach him a lesson. This Li Tianji is an extremely dandy second-generation ancestor. As long as there is the help of Li Tianwang, he dares to do anything in heaven and on earth. Wu Yu was imprisoned in the heavenly demon battlefield for 10,000 years after killing a demon Li Yin. However, it is said that Li Tianji also killed an emperor immortal, but was only imprisoned for 10,000 years under the protection of the pagoda heavenly king Li Jing. One was in the heavenly demon battlefield and was bitten by the heavenly demon, and the other was just imprisoned. Although the time was the same, the severity of the punishment was more than 10,000 times different. If such a guy is not taught a lesson, he might really think he is the king of heaven. What's more, Li Tianji dared to set his sights on Luo Bin, which made Wu Yu even more intolerable. At this moment, Wu Yu was looking forward to the Emperor Immortal trial coming soon. Emperor Zhuikong was talking to Wu Yu, and he did not lower his voice, so Li Tianji and others who were a little distance away heard it and laughed immediately. Li Tianji smiled arrogantly. Some people are ignorant of the immensity of heaven and earth, and think that they are arrogant because they have a little ability. Such people will not go far in the Emperor Immortal trial. If I, Li Tianji, meet them, I will definitely let them know who is the real hero among men. He did not name anyone, but he was obviously talking about Wu Yu. In response, Wu Yu was too lazy to say more to him, but just replied, I hope some people can go further in the Emperor Immortal trial, and don't be eliminated in the early stage and make a fool of themselves. Li Tianji naturally knew that Wu Yu was talking about him, and he was furious, but after thinking about it, he didn't say much, and chuckled, some people can only jump around now. When they get to the Emperor Immortal trial, I'm afraid they will even be beaten to shit and pee. Neither of them mentioned anyone, and the elders didn't say much. But the disciples of Bodhi Patriarch were indignant. Isn't this Li Tianji too arrogant? Heaven swallowing record. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 1685. In heaven, a year is like a day. There was only 1 month left, and it felt like it had passed in just a blink of an eye. During this period, Li Tianji actually ran to where Luo Bin was every 2 days. Although it was impossible for Wu Yu to let Li Tianji in, it was extremely annoying to be disturbed by him so often. This Li Tianji is an extremely dandy. It is said that ever since he was a child, he has never been able to get anything he likes. Once there is an opportunity, his grandfather Li Jing, the king of pagodas, will try his best to get it for him. Now including Luo Bin, I'm afraid the same is true. If Wu Yu really died during the Emperor Immortal trial, maybe Li Jingzhen would decide for him to go to the Shenlong clan to propose marriage to Luo Bin, which Wu Yu would never tolerate. One of these times, Wu Yu went out alone to discuss some details about the Emperor Immortal trial with Zhuexing Emperor, when he ran into Li Tianji blocking his way. You country boy, why don't you leave Luo concubine immediately? Considering your status, you are simply dreaming about getting such a beauty. If you don't know how to leave her, the Emperor's immortal trial will make it impossible for you to return. Li Tianji stopped Wu Yu and threatened him fiercely. However, Wu Yu was naturally not afraid of him and retorted, there are always those who fail in the Emperor Immortal trial. Maybe it's you. After saying this, Wu Yu left directly. Anyway, within the Xianyu Sangxing Cave Immortal Mansion, it was impossible for the other party to take action. Even if he did, why should Wu Yu be afraid of him? Even though Li Tianji is backed by King Tota Li Tianji, Wu Yu also has Patriarch Bodhi behind him. In comparison, Patriarch Bodhi's status is more noble, but Patriarch Bodhi is not as supportive of Wu Yu as King Tota Li Tianji is to Li Tianji. Spoil. What's more, if there was a real fight, Wu Yu might not be able to defeat Li Tianji. Of course, Li Tianji is very powerful. If Wu Yu encounters him in the Emperor Immortal trial, he will definitely go all out and not underestimate him at all. However, Wu Yu will definitely look down on him. This kind of person who grew up under the protection of his ancestors, this boy who has everything going smoothly, what is there to show off and be proud of? Li Tianji kept coming to harass him, but it had no impact on Wu Yu's mentality. Luo Bin didn't want to see Li Tianji at all, and stayed behind closed doors. As a result, Li Tianji didn't see Luo Bin even once during this period, which made him very unhappy, and he even wanted to get rid of Wu Yu quickly. If it weren't for the 3-star cave in Fangkuntian Xianyu, he might have taken action against Wu Yu long ago. Li Tianji felt itchy after not seeing his concubine for a month. Fortunately, the Emperor Immortal trial is finally about to begin. On this day, the much anticipated Emperor Immortal trial finally started in a place called the Starry Sky Prison. This Starry Sky Prison is located in a space above the three-star cave of the slanting moon in the square-inch sky. It is a closed space. Above this Starry Sky Prison, the sky is full of bright stars, shining brightly. Under the shining of the stars, the whole space looks magnificent. It is said that this Starry Sky Prison was left behind after the death of a star emperor in ancient times. It is a small world, but in this small world there are only stars and no mortals. Therefore, it has always been placed in the Xuanhuan Sangxing Cave Immortal Mansion by the Bodhi Patriarch as a place to hold the Emperor Immortal trial. The light of the stars in this small world is quite bright and dazzling. The entire Starry Sky Prison is infinitely beautiful and beautiful. Especially some of the fairy women who come here have their eyes shining brightly. How can they hold the Emperor Immortal trial in such a place? Practice, they really like it? Among them, Fairy Yeju and Fairy Lingmai are like this. During this period, Li Tianji went to Luobin every day, which made the two women very depressed. Until now, their mood has finally become better. The two of them looked down on Wu Yu and Luobin from the bottom of their hearts. To them, Wu Yu and Luobin were both mortals who cultivated to become immortals. How could their status be compared to theirs? In the Starry Sky Prison, under the endless starlight, Fairy Yeju and Fairy Lingmai were even more dazzling, making many emperors and immortals look at them with side eyes. Many senior emperors and immortals came up to compliment them and wished Emperor Donghua and Xianling Dumuyuanzun both had a good daughter, making both emperors and immortals smile from ear to ear. Unfortunately, Li Tianji followed Neza and Li Jing to the Starry Sky Prison, but his eyes never stayed on the two women. Instead, he kept wandering around and searching the whole place. Of course the two women knew what he was looking for. Li Tianji must be looking for Luobin. This made the two women even more depressed. They really wanted the Emperor Immortal trial to start immediately and let them go on stage to humiliate Wu Yu severely. It's a pity that concubine Luo won't participate in this Imperial Immortal trial, otherwise we must let her know who is the real destiny. Fairy Lingmai was dressed in a black skirt, which was very sexy and dazzling. Under the starlight, she attracted the eyes of the Emperor Immortal. Finally, after a burst of exclamations, a group of people arrived at the Starry Sky Prison. It was Patriarch Bodhi and all his disciples. Patriarch Bodhi now has a total of 10 generations of disciples, with a total of more than 900 people in total. When the Emperor Immortal trial started, these more than 900 disciples of Patriarch Bodhi all arrived and began to entertain other Emperor Immortals on the Starry Sky Prison. After all, Patriarch Bodhi and these more than 900 disciples are considered the masters of Xuanhuan Sangxing Cave. The other emperors and immortals arrived as guests. Although they all brought their heirs to compete for the only chance of the eternal battlefield, guests are guests after all. The disciples of Patriarch Bodhi knew how to treat guests, and they did not show any slightness to many emperors and immortals. Coming with Bodhi Patriarch were the Taoist Lord and Tais Hang Lejun. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. The two highly respected top emperors appeared, and even Erlang Shen and Tota Li Tianwang all stood up to greet them, and did not dare to be disrespectful to Bodhi Patriarch and Tais Hang Lejun. Wu Yu took Luobin, Nanshan Wanjiao, and Yezixi to sit and rest at the main venue. Because he was going to participate in the Emperor Immortal trial, he did not need to go to entertain guests, and just prepared to participate in the Emperor Immortal trial. They looked at the actions of many emperors in the field and couldn't help but sigh. In today's heaven, class is really too important. A good background means that the achievements in this life will basically not be too bad, just like Fairy Yaoyun and Fairy Lingmi. If you are born as a mortal, it is already difficult to cultivate to become a god, not to mention achieving an Emperor Immortal, which is even more difficult. As for wanting to become a strong emperor among the immortals and become a respected existence in the heaven, it is basically impossible for mortal cultivators to achieve this. So looking at the appearance of Fairy Lingmi and Fairy Yaoyun, they obviously looked down on the many mortal cultivators in the field, especially Wu Yu and Luo Bin, who were the most despised and did not take them seriously at all. In the Starry Sky Prison, when the Emperor Immortal trial was about to start, after Bodhi Patriarch arranged for Tai's Hanglejun, he took his disciples around to welcome the many emperors who came here, and the etiquette must be in place. In addition to Tai's Hanglejun, there were also 4 of the 5 direction Saint Emperors present: Saint Emperor Dongfang Kongjin, Central Huangji Huangjiao Great Immortal, Xianling Dumu Yuanzun, and Donghua Great Emperor. Among them, the daughters of Xianling Dumu Yuanzun and Donghua Great Emperor were Fairy Lingmi and Fairy Yaoyun, who were going to participate in this Emperor Immortal trial. The Huangji Huangjiao Great Immortal in the center also has a descendant who will participate in the Emperor Immortal trial to compete for a place in the eternal battlefield. In addition to these 4 Emperor Immortals, there is also Erlang Zhenshen Yangjian, who is accompanied by a fairy beast Xiaotian dog with an extremely terrifying aura. Even if he closes his eyes to rest, one can feel the terrifying aura coming from the fairy beast. Behind him stands Yangjian, who is dressed in black and cold and ruthless. He looks equally terrifying. This person is a strong contender for the first place in this Emperor Immortal trial, and many Emperor Immortals in the field frequently look at him. On the other side, there are the pagoda-bearing Heavenly King Li Jing and the 3 altars Sea Assembly Great God Neza, and behind them stands Li Tianji. At this time, Li Tianji has finally found Luo Bin's location and keeps looking at her. His eyes are filled with great admiration, and he doesn't take Wu Yu seriously at all, as if Luo Bin is the only one left in the world. Although Luo Bin didn't even look at him, it made Li Tianji feel even more itchy. The more he couldn't get something, the more he wanted to get it. Luo Bin was like this. On the contrary, Fairy Yaoyun and Fairy Lingmi had been pursuing him, but he rarely took them to heart. Seeing that Luo Bin didn't even look at him, Li Tianji was even more annoyed and angry. He stared at Wu Yu from time to time, wishing he could rush up and kill Wu Yu right now. Unfortunately, there were so many emperors present, how could he dare to do it easily? The emperor trial was imminent. If he dared to make trouble, even his grandfather Li Jing couldn't save him. He was still clear about this. In addition to these emperors, there were also the 4 heavenly kings, the giant spirit god, thunder god, and lightning mother, Martial Tianyue, Thousand Li Eyes and Wind Ears, etc. These emperors were not the top in the heavenly court, but they were also very famous. Generally, the emperors would kowtow and salute when they saw them. Many of these Emperor Immortals came with their children to participate in the Emperor Immortal trial. But some Emperor Immortals came purely to watch the fun, such as Zhao Gongming of the 36 Gods. These Emperor Immortals were bored and came to see what was happening in the heavenly court when they had time, and they could also communicate with other Emperor Immortals. At this time, the most important thing in the entire heavenly court was the Emperor Immortal trial, because after the Emperor Immortal trial, a new Emperor Immortal would be born in the heavenly court. This Emperor Immortal could be Yangjian, the son of Yangjian, or Li Tianji, the son of Neza. No matter who it was a big shock to the heavenly court. In the entire Starry Sky Prison, in addition to these Emperor Immortals, there were only other young immortal kings participating in the competition. Some of these immortal kings were descendants of Emperor Immortals, and some were mortal geniuses without background. They were assessed by Bodhi Patriarch and allowed to participate in the Emperor Immortal trial, but there were not many such people. Although this type of young genius has little hope of winning the first place in the Emperor Immortal trial, as long as they can show up in the Emperor Immortal trial, it will be beneficial for them. If they are noticed by an Emperor Immortal and accepted as a disciple, their future cultivation path will be smoother, so they all value this opportunity. In addition, other characters are not eligible to enter if they are not Emperor Immortals. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1686. There are quite a few emperors who came to the Starry Sky prison, and many of them are of a very high level. Even the other emperors in the heavenly court who were not present were basically paying attention to this emperor trial. It can be said that now in the heavenly court, everyone is discussing about this emperor trial, and the main discussion is still on Yang Jian, the son of Yang Jian, and Li Tianji, the son of Neza. No matter which of them can get the opportunity to step into the eternal battlefield and finally break through to the realm of emperor, it is extremely important for the heavenly court, and it may even affect the direction of the situation in the heavenly court in the next millions of years. I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow. An emperor of the level of Erlang Zhenshen has an immeasurable influence on the heavenly court. If Yang Jian can achieve the level of emperor at this time, he can reach the level of his father Erlang Shen faster, which will naturally have a great influence on the heavenly court. Bodhi Patriarch entertained the emperors and immortals from all sides in the Starry Sky prison. Before the emperor trial began, there was a banquet ceremony. Countless fine wines and peach juices were brought up by Bodhi Patriarch's disciples for many emperors to taste. Bodhi Patriarch is highly respected. The wine brewed in the 3 Stars Cave of the Slanting Moon is also sweet and cool. It is rarely used to entertain guests on weekdays. Being able to drink the fine wine of the 3 Stars Cave of the Slanting Moon is of great benefit to the improvement of the realm of cultivation. Especially for many young genius immortal kings who participated in the emperor trial, they all attached great importance to this opportunity. These fine wines can make them one step closer to the realm of the emperor. Although it is just a drop in the bucket, it is better than nothing. If they practice hard by themselves, they may have to practice hard for thousands of years to have the effect of a cup of fine wine here. Of course, the more you drink these fine wines, the less obvious the effect will be. After drinking 3 or 5 cups, basically no effect can be seen. In total, it can save these young immortal kings 3 to 5,000 years of cultivation time. Don't underestimate these 3 to 5,000 years. After all, they have not yet reached the realm of the immortal emperor. If their lifespan is about to run out, it will be another opportunity for them to practice for another 3 to 5,000 years. During the banquet, many emperors discussed with each other, and the atmosphere was very harmonious. However, this was only on the surface. In fact, when the emperors discussed, there were still open and secret struggles, especially among the emperors who had children to participate in the emperor trial. Basically, there were hidden meanings in their words. The great emperor Donghua said with a smile, "Yuanzun, how does your daughter, Fairy Lingmai, grasp this emperor trial? Does she have a chance to enter the top 8? The great emperor Donghua, whose full name is the great emperor Donghua of the 3 islands and 10 continents, is Dongwangong. He is dressed in white and has white hair, but he does not look old. He looks like a middle-aged man, with a fairy-like temperament and admirable temperament." The Yuanzun he mentioned was the northern Pole Xianling Dumu Yuanzun, also known as Madame Ziguang, the mother of all the stars in the Big Dipper, and one of the 5 saint emperors together with the great emperor Donghua. Xianling Dumu Yuanzun listened to the question from the great emperor Donghua, smiling on the surface, but feeling very unhappy. Top 8? This was completely belittling her daughter, Fairy Lingmai. You must know that in the eyes of Xianling Dumu Yuanzun, even if her daughter Fairy Lingmai could not get the first place in the Emperor Immortal trial, it would be easy for her to enter the top 4. If she only got to the top 8, wouldn't it be inconsistent with her identity as the mother of all the stars in the Big Dipper? So she chuckled and replied, "Emperor, you are joking. Lingmi and your daughter Fairy Yaoyun should be about the same in strength. Do you have so little confidence in your daughter that you only expect her to enter the top 8? Of course not, but there are many strong people in this Emperor Fairy trial. It may not be so easy to enter the top 4. Emperor Donghua smiled and shook his head, analyzing. Look at the son of Erlang Shen, Yang Jian, who looks cold and ruthless, and his momentum is even stronger. And the son of Neza, Li Jing's grandson, Li Tianji, is even earlier. He was in the limelight, and at first he even dared to fight the disciples of Bodhi Patriarch. There was also Wu Yu, the disciple of the Patriarch, and Zhang Taiji, the son of Wang Jiao Immortal, who were both very strong. That's wrong. Xianling de Muyuanzun shook her head. Zhang Taiji is fine. But how can you include Wu Yu? He is just a mortal who became an immortal. If our daughter is not his opponent, won't we be ridiculed by the immortals? Yuanzun, don't forget that even the younger brother of the heavenly king Chiguo, Mo Lion, was killed by this boy. The great Emperor Donghua reminded him. This needs to be paid attention to, but at that time, Wu Yu joined forces with the people around him, and even had the help of the immortal beast Shenlong, so it was nothing to defeat Mo Lion. Xianling de Muyuanzun shook his head, still not taking Wu Yu seriously. During the banquet, the first-generation disciple of Bodhi Patriarch, Xuanhuan Emperor Immortal, began to introduce all the 108 young immortal king geniuses who participated in the Emperor Immortal trial. First, of course, the highly anticipated descendants of Emperor Immortals. Intentionally or unintentionally, the first person he introduced was Bodhi Patriarch's disciple, Wu Yu. Wu Yu was the only participant from Fangkuntian Ziyu Sangxing Cave, and was also the last place decided by Bodhi Patriarch. Moreover, the Emperor Immortals in the field were basically very clear about Wu Yu's deeds. Xuanhuan Emperor Immortal was a gentle Confucian immortal. When introducing Wu Yu, he smiled gently at Wu Yu, from Fangkuntian, a disciple of Bodhi Patriarch. As soon as these words came out, all the senior brothers Wu Yu, who were also disciples of Bodhi Patriarch, cheered enthusiastically on Fangkuntian's side. In this Emperor Immortal trial, Wu Yu represented the disciples of Bodhi Patriarch. Therefore, even the senior brothers such as Yuan Chan Emperor Immortal who originally looked down on Wu Yu were now eager for Wu Yu to win. The key point is that they can clearly see that most of the Emperor Immortals present have status and face, only they, the disciples of Bodhi Patriarch, rarely have a prominent background, and are basically mortals who have become immortals, which is very similar to Wu Yu. Those powerful Emperor Immortals look down on them who have become immortals. Naturally, they hope that Wu Yu will perform well in the Emperor Immortal trial and fight for them. What's more, the fact that Xuexing Emperor Immortal was injured by Li Tianji before has long been known to everyone. At that time, Wu Yu and Li Tianji were at loggerheads, and they would definitely compete in the Emperor Immortal trial. The disciples of Bodhi Patriarch certainly hoped that Wu Yu could defeat Li Tianji, let Li Tianji taste the taste of being defeated, and regain the face for Emperor Xuexing. Emperor Xuexing was gentle and elegant, and he didn't hate Li Tianji very much. But not all of Bodhi Patriarch's disciples were as magnanimous as Emperor Xuexing. They had long been quite resentful of Li Tianji. If Wu Yu could defeat Li Tianji, it would be a great relief. When Emperor Xuanhuan introduced Wu Yu, the cheers in the field were deafening for a while. After all, the Emperor Immortal trial was held in Fangkuntian, and the most here were disciples of Bodhi Patriarch, so at this time, almost everyone in the audience shouted the name of Wu Yu. This touched Wu Yu quite a lot. Normally, he didn't feel much, but at this time, the brothers who were also disciples of Bodhi Patriarch all united, and the momentum was so great that it was really touching. Emperor Yuan Chan, Emperor Zhuikong, Emperor Yuanyuan, etc., all cheered for Wu Yu with expectation, with eager eyes, and really hoped that he could win the Emperor Immortal trial. To be honest, even if Bodhi Patriarch set up the Emperor Immortal trial to compete for the quota of the eternal battlefield, his disciples were very unhappy to see that the quota of the eternal battlefield was taken by outsiders. If Wu Yu could win, it would naturally be the best. And the other Emperor Immortals present were a little unhappy because Wu Yu's voice was so loud. First of all, when introducing the people who participated in the Emperor Immortal trial, the first one was Wu Yu, and secondly, there were so many people cheering for him, and the momentum was so great that it made the other Emperor Immortals more or less unhappy. Especially the Emperor Immortals such as Erlang Shen Yang Jian, Tota Li Tianwang, Donghua Emperor and Xianling Dumu Yuanzun. They all looked down upon Wu Yu's call. In their opinion, this Emperor Immortal trial was prepared for their offspring. Why would Wu Yu compete with their children for the qualification of the eternal battlefield? The Emperor Immortal trial is no joke. The real thing will be revealed in the hands. No matter how loud you shout now, it will be useless when the time comes. Donghua Emperor smiled steadily. He seemed to have no expression, but he was actually unhappy in his heart. That's right, do they think that if they shout loudly, they can win the Emperor Immortal trial? They are really dreaming. Yao Yun, the fairy behind Donghua Emperor, snorted lightly. She really looked down upon Wu Yu. Xianling Dumu Yuanzun and Lingmi fairy behind her also had similar expressions and attitudes. They didn't take Wu Yu seriously. On the contrary, when everyone in the audience was shouting Wu Yu's name, Li Tianji cast a pair of sharp eyes towards Wu Yu. His unruly look immediately attracted Wu Yu's attention. Their eyes met in this starry sky prison, and both of them had a strong desire to fight. The hatred between the two of them was first because of Juexing Emperor Xian, and second because of Luo Bin. No matter which hatred it was, if Wu Yu met Li Tianji in the Emperor Xian trial, he would never want to lose to him. That Li Tianji was really naughty. Even though they were far away, he was not willing to be outdone at this moment. He opened his mouth disdainfully in the direction of Wu Yu and said, "You are dead." Although there was no sound, Wu Yu understood the other party's mouth shape and understood what the other party wanted to express. But Wu Yu ignored him. Li Tianji is quite strong. If he is angry and cannot calm down when they fight, he may lose to the other party. So Wu Yu kept a calm mind. Even if the other party kept provoking him, he remained unmoved. As for another important opponent, Yang Jian, dressed in black and ruthless, he also stared at Wu Yu. His cold eyes showed a strong murderous intent and a hint of danger. The murderous intent spread and was felt by Wu Yu. This Yang Jian wants to kill me just like Li Tianji. Wu Yu frowned slightly. He was not surprised by Li Tianji, but he thought he had not provoked Yang Jian. The only possibility was Erlang Shen. Perhaps it was the instruction from Erlang Shen, but no matter what, Wu Yu would not retreat or be afraid. This is an opportunity to step into the Immortal Emperor. When the rapids are advancing, no matter what opponents are ahead, he will defeat them all. Heaven-swallowing record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1687. The next person Guanghuo introduced was the most popular of the most popular candidates in this Emperor Immortal trial, namely Yang Jian, son of Yang Jian, Li Tianji, son of Neza, Yao Yun, daughter of Emperor Donghua, and Lingmi, daughter of Xianling Domu Yuanzun. Wu Yu had met all of them before. There was also a son of Huang Xiao, the yellow extreme immortal of the central yellow pole, named Zhang Taiji. This boy was tall and strong, with horns on his head and a body that looked like it was made of gold. He looked very majestic and was also a powerful descendant of the Emperor Immortal. He was favored by people in this Emperor Immortal trial. The 128 people who participated in the Emperor Immortal trial were introduced by Guanghuo Emperor Immortal one by one. Basically, every time the descendants of the Emperor Immortals were introduced, the guests in the field were quite enthusiastic. On the contrary, if some mortals who became immortals were introduced, the Emperor Immortals who came to watch the game would be indifferent. Only the disciples of Bodhi Patriarch would have a good impression of the immortal kings who became immortals from mortals. Because most of the disciples of Bodhi Patriarch were mortals who became immortals, and they had no background, so in their eyes, these mortal immortal kings were much more friendly than those emperor immortals. When introducing, Wu Yu noticed that many powerful emperor immortals had been looking at him, including Erlang Shenyang Jian, and the pagoda-holding Li Tianwang, especially the Chiguo Tianwang among the four heavenly kings, and the ancient giant spirit. Their eyes were cast on Wu Yu, and then they lowered their heads and said something to Yang Jian, Li Tianji, and others. Wu Yu didn't know what they were communicating, but he thought they should be targeting him. Wu Yu was not afraid of this. In the Emperor Immortal trial, everything can only be based on one's own strength. Even if the elders were here, it would be impossible to do anything small, otherwise Bodhi Patriarch would get angry, and they would not be able to get a place in the eternal battlefield. The participants of the trial have been introduced. Next is the trial rules. The Emperor Guanghuo introduced all 128 people, then looked around the audience and said loudly, "The trial rules are that 128 people will fight in pairs, the winner will advance, and the loser will be eliminated. Whoever can win 7 games in a row will be the first in this Emperor Immortal trial and qualify for the eternal battlefield. The eternal battlefield opens once every 50,000 years, and there is only one quota each time. For this quota, countless young immortal kings in the heavenly court will come to compete. Many 9 heavens immortal kings have basically been in this realm for a long time. Once they can win, it will be like a fish leaping over the dragon gate and achieving the realm of the Emperor Immortal. The competition in the Emperor Immortal trial over the years has been quite fierce, but this time, there are even more powerful people participating in the Emperor Immortal trial. People generally favored Yang Jian, Li Tianji, Fairy Yaoyun, Fairy Lingmi, and Zhang Taiji. Their fathers were all well-informed emperors in the heavens. They had obtained countless natural treasures since childhood, and had many epic artifacts on their bodies, and even had many special adventures. 7 rounds of fighting, 1 year of rest between each round, that's the rule. Now, please ask the ancestor to choose someone to play. After saying this, Emperor Guanghuo stepped aside. The first round of the Emperor Immortal trial is about to begin. There will be a total of 54 competitions in this round. Basically, no strong people will meet in advance. As for how to choose the opponent, it is all decided by Bodhi Patriarch. Under the attention of everyone in the field, Bodhi Patriarch stood up gently and offered the wheel of Tai Chi in his hand. A bright light appeared faintly on the wheel of Tai Chi, and it rotated with the wheel of Tai Chi. A faint light shone from the bright lamp, which kept wandering over the 128 people. Whoever the light stopped on would be the next one to go on the field. No one was dissatisfied with the way Bodhi Patriarch selected his opponents. After all, Bodhi Patriarch's reputation was fairness. No one could allow an Emperor Immortal of Bodhi Patriarch's level to have any partiality. If he wanted to cheat, he could just choose one person to enter the eternal battlefield. There was no need to hold the Emperor Immortal trial. Bodhi Patriarch's character has always been guaranteed, and no one doubted his fairness. He held the Emperor Immortal trial to give outsiders the opportunity to enter the eternal battlefield. Many Emperor Immortals in the field respected him very much, so they let Bodhi Patriarch decide the order of going on the field. Bodhi Patriarch just sacrificed the Tai Chi wheel and selected the immortal kings to go on the field. Since there was only one winner in the Emperor Immortal trial, even if 2 strong men met in advance, it would not be a big problem. When Bodhi Patriarch selected people, he had no tendency at all, and he selected them completely randomly. In the tense eyes of the crowd, the bright light of the Tai Chi wheel kept rotating, and the light kept shining on the contestants, and kept wandering. Soon, the bright light stopped on a fairy king who became an immortal from a mortal. This fairy king who became an immortal from a mortal has been introduced to everyone in the introduction just now. His title is Wandering Fairy King. It goes without saying that he cultivated to the realm of the 9 heavens fairy king as a mortal. The hardships and difficulties are self-evident. This person's personality is a bit frivolous, but at this moment, his eyes reveal a solemn look. This is the Emperor Fairy trial, which is not ordinary. Everyone who comes here to participate in the Emperor Fairy trial, even if they are not as good as him, will not be much weaker than him. Among these 128 people, he knows very well that there are too many strong ones. Of course, this Lang Lang Immortal King has made a great reputation walking in the heavenly court. Although he has no one to rely on, he can cultivate to the realm of the nine heavens Immortal King with his own strength and talent. He is already a very powerful existence. Moreover, it is rumored that this Lang Lang Immortal King has also fought against the existence of the Eternal Emperor Immortal level. Although the final result is unknown, now that the Lang Lang Immortal King has appeared here to participate in the Emperor Immortal trial, it is obvious that the Eternal Emperor Immortal level has not been able to do anything to him. From this, it can be seen that the strength of this Lang Lang Immortal King is definitely quite strong. Then, the bright light on the Tai Chi wheel continued to rotate, and soon stopped on another person. That person was a descendant of the Emperor Immortal, the son of the sun travel god who came here to watch the battle, Yu Dongxian. Dongxian should have no problem against the Lang Lang Immortal King in the spectator seat. The sun travel god smiled faintly. Yes, it is said that Dongxian often sparred with your generals, and he has the combat power of the first level of the Eternal Emperor Immortal. This Lang Dang Immortal King is just a mortal who became an immortal, so he is not to be feared. The night wandering god on the side also smiled and did not take the Lang Dang Immortal King seriously. In the spectator seats, other emperors and immortals also discussed it. This was the first battle of the Emperor Immortal trial, and there were still many people who would pay attention to it. However, it was obvious that many powerful emperors and immortals in the field, including the four heavenly kings, Erlang Shen, and the five directions Saint Emperor, basically did not look favorably on the Lang Dang Immortal King. After all, Yu Dongxian was the son of the sun wandering god. How could Yu Dongxian, who was trained by the Emperor Immortal behind him, be worse than the Lang Dang Immortal King who became an immortal from a mortal and had no identity or background? Two people came on stage. The Lang Dang Immortal King was dressed in white, with sword-like eyebrows and star-like eyes, and a solemn look in his expression, staring at Yu Dongxian who came to him. Yu Dongxian was wearing a red robe, with a fiery aura flowing all over his body, like a blazing sun, and his aura even overshadowed the light of the stars around the starry sky prison. There was a hint of heat in his eyes, and he seemed to be mocking the wandering Immortal King. Come on. Yu Dongxian hooked his finger at the wandering Immortal King with contempt. Whether it was the wandering Immortal King or the disciples of Bodhi Patriarch off the field, they were all a little angry when they saw this scene. How could this Yu Dongxian look down on the immortals who had achieved their mortal achievements? For a while, cheers arose everywhere. There were many disciples of Bodhi Patriarch, and their voices overshadowed all other voices. They were all shouting for the wandering Immortal King to teach Yu Dongxian a lesson. Wu Yu was also watching this first competition carefully. In the field, the wandering Immortal King couldn't stand the contempt of Yu Dongxian. After a cold snort, a white robe flowed in the void, and his whole body turned into countless white streams of light, sweeping towards Yu Dongxian. Countless white streams of light, each of which seemed to be able to shatter the void, were the strongest magical power of the wandering Immortal King. The power of the heavenly rules in his body shattered the void at this moment and merged into these white streams of light. This move can be used to advance or retreat, to attack or defend. Before, the wandering Immortal King faced an immortal emperor, and relied on this move to successfully escape from the opponent's hands, and even injured the opponent. This was his famous magical power, void refining. Countless white streams of light came, but Yu Dongxian was full of disdain. His red robe fluttered instantly, igniting endless hot light, just like a blazing sun, emitting endless heat. Fierce sun heavenly rules. At this moment, Yu Dongxian seemed to have turned into a sun. Even the void around him was boiling at this time, filled with deadly temperature. At this moment, the Emperor Immortal trial field turned into a terrifying purgatory. Any existence below the Emperor Immortal had almost no way to resist in this area, and even survival became a problem. With just this move, the countless white streams of light that the wandering Immortal King transformed into were actually melted by the infinite heat. As soon as they approached Yudongxian a little bit, they were completely melted, and they did not pose any threat to Yudongxian at all. Instead, a short time later, the wandering Immortal King's body appeared in the distance of Yudongxian. The white clothes were already tattered and charred by the terrifying temperature. His whole body was also full of traces of injuries from the extreme heat. He was in a miserable state and even lost his fighting power. His breath became extremely weak, but he was still holding on without fainting with a belief. The winner is Yudongxian. With the announcement of Xuanhuan Emperor Immortal, the battle ended just like that. Even before the people around him could react, the wandering Immortal King had been completely crushed and defeated miserably by Yudongxian. This Yudongxian is so much stronger than the wandering Immortal King. The disciples under Bodhi Patriarch were a little surprised. Is this the gap between mortals becoming immortals and the descendants of Emperor Immortals? Heaven-swallowing record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1688. The disciples of Bodhi Patriarch were somewhat disappointed with the wandering Immortal King, but in fact, many of them had already prepared for this before the fight began. After all, they had watched the Emperor Immortal trial many times. Even though not every Emperor Immortal trial had so many descendants of the Emperor Immortal as this time, they actually knew that the descendants of the Emperor Immortal were much stronger than the immortals who achieved immortality from mortals, but they just didn't believe in evil. There were immortals who achieved immortality from mortals who could defeat the descendants of the Emperor Immortal in the Emperor Immortal trial, but there were not many of them. The wandering Immortal King is still a little bit short. In fact, if it weren't for Yudongxian, he would still have a chance to win against other immortal kings. The son of the sun wandering god is really strong. Yes. They have the support of their elders, their cultivation path is smooth, and they also have cultivation resources provided by their elders' families. It is normal that they are strong. The Emperor Immortal Yuan Chen, the Emperor Immortal Zhuikong, and others all discussed with each other. Soon, many people cast their eyes on Wu Yu. It was obvious that the disciples of Bodhi Patriarch had high expectations for Wu Yu. Wu Yu had killed Mo Lion a while ago. This guy was a second-level immortal emperor. Wu Yu's strength was beyond doubt. Although Mo Lion was also a disciple of Bodhi Patriarch, he claimed to be the younger brother of the heavenly king of Dhritarashtra. He could not get along with other disciples of Bodhi Patriarch on weekdays and always liked to despise other brothers, so his reputation was not very good. Among the disciples of Bodhi Patriarch, there were almost no disciples who had a good relationship with Mo Lion, so the death of Mo Lion did not make the disciples of Bodhi Patriarch feel disgusted with Wu Yu. On the contrary, they had higher expectations for Wu Yu, hoping that he could defeat more descendants of emperors in the emperor trials, regain some face for the immortals who became immortals from mortals, and let those descendants of emperors understand that the blessing of the ancestors did not mean everything. Next, the bright lights on the Tai Chi wheel continued to shine, and pairs of trialists came on the field to fight. Emperor Immortal Trial, Fair Battle. In the small world of Starry Sky Prison, surrounded by stars, the emperors watched the battle on the sidelines, and it was very lively. Yang Jian, Li Tianji, Fairy Yaoyun, Zhang Taiji, and Fairy Lingmi, who attracted everyone's attention, also came on the field one after another. They all completely crushed their opponents, and no one was their enemy at all. But Li Tianji did something on the field that made the disciples of Bodhi Patriarch indignant at him. His opponent was a mortal called Divine Sword Immortal King who had cultivated to the 9 heavens Immortal King. Originally, Li Tianji asked the Divine Sword Immortal King to admit defeat, but the divine sword Immortal King wanted to fight and try to see the gap between himself and Li Tianji. As a result, after the fight, Li Tianji did not directly defeat the divine sword Immortal King, but began to humiliate him. Sometimes he took off the clothes of the Sword Fairy King with laughter, sometimes he smashed the Sword Fairy King's butt with the power of the heavenly rule, and sometimes he imprisoned him and whipped him. The battle could have ended with one move, but Li Tianji became naughty and humiliated the Sword Fairy King. The Sword Fairy King was ashamed, but he had already started the battle. Under Li Tianji's imprisonment, he couldn't even admit defeat, and couldn't even speak. In Li Tianji's constant humiliation, many spectators cheered. These spectators were basically descendants of the Emperor Immortals in the field, such as Fairy Yaoyun, Fairy Lingmi, and the son of Thunder God and Lightning Mother, Lei Tianyuan, and so on. For them, they looked down on these mortal immortal kings who had cultivated themselves up. Even if they became Emperor Immortals, they had no status in their eyes. So the Sword Fairy King was unwilling to admit defeat before, which made them very unhappy. Did he look down on Li Tianji or something? Being humiliated by Li Tianji now is a great relief for them. However, the emperors of Fangkuntian, that is, the disciples of Bodhi Patriarch, are extremely unhappy and gnashed their teeth at Li Tianji. After all, many of the emperors of Fangkuntian do not have good backgrounds. They all rely on their own efforts to cultivate little by little to reach their current realm. They have experienced 1,000 times more hardships and difficulties than the descendants of emperors like Li Tianji since they were mortals. Humiliating them like this is simply an insult to their efforts and contempt for their hard work. How could they have a good impression of Li Tianji? If Neza had not scolded him a few times in the spectator seat, Li Tianji might not know when he would humiliate the immortal king of divine sword. Even so, Li Tianji finally used a move of the heavenly rule to seriously injure the immortal king of divine sword. The sword immortal king was seriously injured and unconscious, and was rescued by Bodhi Patriarch. This was the first time in the previous Emperor Immortal trials that such a thing of actively teasing and humiliating others occurred. This made Bodhi Patriarch's face look very bad. Because of this, the great god Neza of the Three Altars Sea Assembly took the initiative to scold Li Tianji, otherwise, it is unknown when the fuss would end. It would be strange if Sister Luobin could look at such a lawless and naughty boy. Even if all the men in the heavenly court died, Sister Luobin would not have any good feelings for him. Yezixi was very angry, and she clenched her fists and looked very unhappy. Let this kid be arrogant now, and when old Wu comes on the field, he will definitely beat him to a pulp, and he won't even recognize his father. Nanshan Wanjiao was more open-minded, he knew that strength is respected in this world. If the divine sword immortal king was more powerful, Li Tianji wouldn't be able to humiliate him like this. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. If Wu Yu takes the field, Li Tianji will definitely suffer a big loss if he fights with this mentality, because Nanshan Wanjiao knows very well that Wu Yu's strength is not comparable to that of ordinary immortal kings. I don't know how many years ago, Wu Yu he has already fought against the Emperor Immortal. When the Yongsheng Emperor was buried, Wu Yu cooperated with several Nine Heaven Demon Kings to defeat the corpse puppet of the Purple-Eyed Emperor. Although it was the first time, it was also the first time that Wu Yu confronted the Emperor Immortal head-on. Since then, Wu Yu's opponents have basically all been at the Emperor Immortal level. That's right. Brother Wu Yu has never lost to anyone in the same realm. When Brother Wu Yu comes on stage, Li Tianji will be dead. Yezixi was still not angry. The scene of humiliating the divine sword immortal king, it is really too unbearable and despised by others. Especially when the divine sword immortal king was humiliated on the field, there were actually many people clapping and applauding, like Fairy Yaoju, Fairy Lingmai, and Lei Tianyuan, the son of Thunder Gongdian Mu. These emperors, all the descendants of the fairy, took great pleasure in this, and they kept clapping their hands in applause, which was infuriating. The imperial immortal trial continued, and Wu Yu was only among the last few to be illuminated by the bright light on the Tai Chi wheel. There were not many possibilities for his opponent. As the light of the Tai Chi wheel continued to rotate, the light soon stopped on a descendant of the Emperor Immortal who was still chatting and laughing with others. Standing in front of that person was the Thunder Goddess and the Lightning Lady, who was surprisingly the son of the two Emperor Immortals. Lei Tianyuan. When the light stopped on Lei Tianyuan, the venue suddenly became quiet. The much anticipated Wu Yu's first battle was against Lei Tianyuan. Immediately afterwards, a burst of cheers erupted in the field. In the entire first round of the Emperor Immortal trial, they did not see any exciting competition, but this time Wu Yu versus Lei Tianyuan should still be worth watching. It should be more intense. After all, Wu Yu had killed Mo Lion, the second-level Immortal Emperor Immortal. Even if there was some water in the battle, there was no doubt about his strength. As for Lei Tianyuan, let alone that. The relationship between Lei Gong and Erlang god Yang Jian is very good, and their children, Yang Jian and Lei Tianyuan, have been good friends since they were young. The two have cultivated to this day, and they are both friends and competitors. Lei Tianyuan's strength has always been not much weaker than Yang Jian's, and it is the same now. The descendants of Emperor Fairy still communicate a lot on weekdays, so they also know a little about Lei Tianyuan's strength. Lei Tianyuan's current strength is almost the same as our daughter's. It shouldn't be a problem to deal with this Wu Yu, Emperor Donghua said with a leisurely smile. Xianling Domu Yuanzun on the side nodded. Yes, the last time Lei Tianyuan competed with the little girl, the result was a narrow defeat. It is said that he has made a breakthrough recently. He must have become stronger and will not be defeated by Wu Yu. In fact, these emperors and immortals are not very optimistic about Wu Yu. It's just that Wu Yu made a lot of noise in the past, so they pay attention to him. In fact, these Emperor Immortals didn't understand Wu Yu's strength, and they didn't bother to understand it. In their opinion, how could any immortals trained by mortals be as good as these unique descendants of Emperor Immortals? You must know that they control the cultivation resources of heaven. The juniors will practice smoothly and will not experience any difficulties at all. Their strength has improved rapidly, and with the guidance of the ancestors of emperors and immortals, they will not take detours along the way. In magical powers, in terms of heavenly rules and era artifacts, they are much more powerful than those immortals cultivated by mortals. After identifying his opponent, Wu Yu was not afraid at all. He boldly walked to the field and glanced at Lei Tianyuan. He saw that Lei Tianyuan's face was like indigo, his hair was like cinnabar, his eyes were bright, and his teeth were protruding from his lips. The body is 2 feet long, with a pair of eagle-like wings on its back. It controls the power of thunder, with lightning flowing all over its body, and the light of thunder in its eyes. Lei Tianyuan was still chatting and laughing with others, talking about Wu Yu, but he didn't expect that it would be his turn to play against Wu Yu. Ha ha ha, look, that kid is here. I, Lei Tianyuan, must let him know the terror of our descendants of the Emperor Immortal. Yang Jian, I solved your opponent first, so don't thank me. Lei Tianyuan said with a grin, his teeth exposed, and he looked extremely vicious. He already had a fiery temper, and now he was not afraid at all when facing Wu Yu, and flew towards the field with the force of wind and thunder. Yang Jian still looked cold and bloodthirsty, with no expression at all. He wanted to kill Wu Yu, but it didn't matter to him if someone did it for him. Wu Yu was dead anyway, and it was the same to him who killed him. Li Tianji, on the other hand, actually burst out laughing in the audience. Wu Yu, don't die in the hands of Lei Tianyuan. Your life belongs to me, and the divine dragon Luo's concubine will also belong to me, Li Tianji the secret woman. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 1689. Li Tianji's arrogant words made many people around him frown. It was obviously inappropriate to say such words in such an occasion. After all, there were so many emperors and elders in the field. Not everyone could tolerate his arrogant and domineering temperament. From this, it can be seen that the total Li Tianhuang doted on Li Tianji to such an extent that he did whatever he wanted, lawless, and did not consider the consequences at all. In Li Tianji's opinion, no matter what trouble he caused, his grandfather Tota Tianhuang could settle it all for him. The other party was so arrogant and mentioned Luo Bin. Wu Yu could not remain indifferent. Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow the situation of Smoke Ji. He was in the center of the starry sky prison, looking at Li Tianji with a hint of contempt in his eyes. I hope your strength is as hard as your mouth, don't lose to others halfway and make a fool of yourself. You little brat, dare you talk back? If I meet you, I will kill you. Li Tianji's eyes were full of murderous intent. No one had ever dared to speak to him in this tone since he lived to this day, which made him angry and difficult to calm down. You can try it? Wu Yu said lightly, and his nonchalant look made Li Tianji crazy. Your opponent is me. At this time, a furious roar came from the front of Wu Yu. It was Lei Tianyuan who was staring at him. You will lose against this immortal king, Wu Yu. This Emperor Immortal trial is not your stage. If you insist on coming up, I will only let you know how big the gap between us is. Come on. Wu Yu glanced at Lei Tianyuan. He seemed relaxed on the surface, but he was actually quite vigilant. No matter when, Wu Yu never underestimated his opponent, especially when the opponent was at the same level as Yang Jian and Li Tianji. They were all descendants of powerful Emperor Immortals and had many tricks under their hands. The simple verbal confrontation between the two almost ignited the atmosphere of the whole venue. There was basically no good competition in the first round of this Emperor Immortal trial, but this one mobilized the emotions of all the Emperor Immortals in the field. Countless people wanted to see who was stronger between Wu Yu and Lei Tianyuan. Some of the older generation of Emperor Immortals smiled and pointed, saying that Wu Yu, Lei Tianyuan, and Li Tianji were young, active, and full of vigor, which was enviable. Yao Yun Fairy, Ling Mi Fairy and other descendants of Emperor Immortals naturally hoped that Lei Tianyuan could teach Wu Yu a lesson. Wu Yu dared to mock Li Tianji in public, which made the two fairies very upset. But they didn't think about who was the first to speak out on the court. As for the disciples of Bodhi Patriarch, they were now cheering for Wu Yu, shouting loudly, which was quite favorable to Wu Yu in terms of momentum. It can be said that they had a home advantage. Unfortunately, in the competition of the Emperor Immortal trial, the home advantage was useless. Everything still depends on one's own strength. When Wu Yu and Lei Tianyuan both entered the field and stared at each other, the competition had actually begun. The eagle-like wings behind Lei Tianyuan kept shaking, and a series of thunder forces were born in the void, sweeping towards Wu Yu. Try my annihilation thunder and heavenly rules. Lei Tianyuan looked down on Wu Yu completely, snorted coldly, and did not even use the epic artifact, but directly used the power of heavenly rules to deal with Wu Yu. The power of annihilation thunder and heavenly rules instantly burst out from the void, reflecting the light of the stars, and almost instantly submerged Wu Yu in it. However, his power of heavenly rules can be used to deal with ordinary immortal emperors of the first level, but it will not have any effect on Wu Yu. The whole field was shaken by thunder, but Wu Yu stood firm in the field, not shaken at all. Void reversal. Wu Yu stretched out his hand, and the surrounding world and void were reversed immediately. The power of annihilation thunder and heavenly rules that bombarded him was transferred to the surroundings at once, and could not do anything to Wu Yu at all. Under the surging thunder in the field, Lei Tianyuan was a little surprised. He did not expect Wu Yu to be able to easily deal with his power of heavenly rules. However, the annihilation of the heavenly rules of thunder was just an ordinary move for him, and it was nothing at all. At this moment, Lei Tianyuan had been pulled into Wu Yu's void reversal world, but he didn't care. He raised his hand, eternal stillness of thunder heavenly rules. The next moment, endless thunder flashed in the void world around Wu Yu. These thunders seemed to have existed in the void of this world since ancient times, and were only now triggered by Lei Tianyuan and completely erupted. Wu Yu didn't even have time to react before he was submerged by the eternal stillness of thunder heavenly rules. The surging lightning seemed to form a sea of thunder, which kept churning out from the void and kept gathering towards Wu Yu, trying to destroy his body. Law of heaven and earth. Golden fire heavenly rules. Wu Yu's body suddenly grew larger in the sea of thunder, and his strength also increased. With the explosion of the power of the golden fire heavenly rules, the sea of thunder around him was completely shattered at this moment. Wu Yu's enlarged body appeared in front of everyone, surrounded by the power of gold and fire, as if a flame was burning around him. The surrounding eternal static thunder and lightning power, once close to Wu Yu's body surrounded by the power of gold and fire, was completely destroyed by the power of gold and fire, and could not get close to Wu Yu's body, let alone defeat Wu Yu. In this short period of time, both sides made two moves, which were dazzling and dazzling. The endless thunder and lightning flashed dazzlingly in the field, and it seemed that Lei Tianyuan had the absolute advantage. But when the lightning dissipated, Wu Yu's body surrounded by the power of golden fire appeared, making people immediately understand that Wu Yu was here. There is no disadvantage at all in this battle. This scene clearly inspired the local emperors and immortals in Fangkunshan. Originally, they were all worried that Wu Yu, like the previous immortal king Wandering and immortal sword king, would be vulnerable in front of the Emperor Fairy's descendants. Now it seems that they don't need to worry about this problem. Lei Tianyuan is already one of the strongest among the Emperor Fairy's descendants. Even Yang Jian and the others are not much stronger than Lei Tianyuan. Wu Yu can easily withstand Lei Tianyuan's successive attacks, which shows that his strength is absolutely powerful. Even if he cannot win the only spot in the eternal battlefield, he will definitely make the Emperor's descendants suffer. Of course, they still hope that Wu Yu can finally win the first place, defeat the spirit of these Emperor Fairy descendants, and let them know that the path to immortality is definitely not based on background and luck alone. I didn't expect that Lei Tianyuan's offensive was actually blocked by that kid. The two emperors, Duke Lei and Mother Lightning, were also discussing the battle in private. Their originally relaxed expressions now became a little serious. No need to worry. Lei Gong laughed and said, Tianyuan just moved his hands casually and stretched his muscles. His real magical powers have not been used yet. But Wu Yu does have a few tricks. He is worthy of being the disciple chosen by Patriarch Bodhi. I just don't know that he can do it. How long have we, Tianyuan, been able to hold on? As if he realized that Wu Yu was not weak, Lei Tianyuan in the field grinned, you are better than those ants before, but compared with me, you are still far behind. You should admit defeat now, otherwise you will wait. I'm afraid I don't even have the chance to admit defeat. Being humiliated like that divine sword immortal king won't look good, ha ha ha. He has a hot temper, speaks his mind outright, and has no respect for the divine sword immortal king and Wu Yu at all. Of course the divine sword immortal king had woken up by this time, and was extremely ashamed by these words. Fortunately, Patriarch Bodhi had just healed his injuries and was right next to him, pressing his shoulders and letting him calm down a little. However, the divine sword immortal king gritted his teeth and looked at the field, staring at Lei Tianyuan. If I remember well, you had the biggest laugh at that time, right? A stern look flashed in Wu Yu's eyes. When Li Tianji was humiliating the divine sword immortal king, Lei Tianyuan was the one who laughed the most happily. He tried his best to mock the weakness of the divine sword immortal king and touted Li Tianji's strength. Take pride in your own origin. So what? You are no match for me. Lei Tianyuan sneered, not paying attention to Wu Yu at all. His whole body was surrounded by thunder, and he suddenly used a magical method. The gods and demons returned to their places. His body with eagle-like wings suddenly swelled up, and almost all of his body turned into lightning, becoming insignificant in the void. Then, the piece of lightning that his body turned into quickly moved towards Wu Yu, swept over, and at the same time released another kind of heavenly power. At this moment, Lei Tianyuan transformed into thunder. Under the effect of the magical power of returning gods and demons, the power of his various methods increased countless times, and transformed into lightning, which was everywhere. In this void, he can appear anywhere. Thousands of thunder whirlpool rules. Endless thunder erupted from the void beside Wu Yu, forming one thunder vortex after another. These thunder vortexes contained endless destructive power. Even the Emperor Immortal would suffer endless blows if he fell into them. In the end, died of exhaustion. At this moment, countless thunder whirlpools suddenly erupted next to Wu Yu. Countless thunder lights tore at him, trying to pull him into the whirlpool and swallow him completely. That's not all. Lei Tianyuan's strength is quite terrifying. He has now turned into thunder, and the wings behind his back are surrounded by lightning, turning into a pair of indestructible electric wings. These immortal electric wings turned into countless thunder swords, heading towards Wu Yu. It was cut off where it was, and with a violent and murderous force, it fell towards Wu Yu's head. Heaven-swallowing record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1690. 10,000 Thunder Whirlpool Heavenly Rules. Immortal Lightning Wings. Mainly in conjunction with Lei Tianyuan's magical power of gods and demons returned to their positions, the combination of the three erupted an extremely terrifying force, completely shattering the void where Wu Yu was, and endless void cracks tore apart from Wu Yu's feet. The terrifying power made the audience cheer. This is the strongest method that has erupted in the first round of the Emperor Immortal trial so far. Lei Tianyuan is indeed the son of Thunder God and Lightning Mother. The genius they cultivated together is quite terrifying. Yes, Lei Tianyuan is quite powerful. Even the existence of the second level of the Eternal Emperor Immortal will have some difficulty facing his move. In my opinion, Wu Yu should be defeated by this move. Even if he uses the move that killed Mo Lion that day, he will definitely not be able to resist it. That's right. I still remember that Wu Yu had to merge with the dragon fairy beast to kill Mo Lion. As for now, too weak. These are basically discussed by the emperors. They look down on Wu Yu from the bottom of their hearts, and they are more optimistic about Lei Tianyuan. They don't think Wu Yu can defeat Lei Tianyuan at all. However, the local emperors of Fangkuntian, mainly the disciples of Bodhi Patriarch, are nervous. Lei Tianyuan's move was not taken by many of them, not to mention that Wu Yu is not even an emperor, but a nine heavens immortal king. They naturally hoped that Wu Yu could win, but looking at the might of Lei Tianyuan's move, it seemed that Wu Yu's hope of winning was quite slim. Moreover, Lei Tianyuan could burst out such a terrifying power without even using the epic artifact, which was shocking. Amid the discussions of many emperors and the nervous eyes of all the audience, Wu Yu's expression remained unchanged. He naturally felt the strength of Lei Tianyuan, but he was not afraid. Law of heaven and earth, change. Just as the opponent's thunder attack was coming, Wu Yu's law of heaven and earth was exerted to the extreme, and transformed into the largest body, standing like a prehistoric giant in this starry sky prison. Then, endless flesh and blood rules and battle rules surrounded his body, and at this moment, his strength was enhanced to an unprecedented level. At this moment, even if Luo Ben did not enhance him with the move of Tianlong Hai, it was possible for him to deal with the original Mo Lion, and he could completely compete with him. Clone Heaven Rule. Millions of clones appeared in the void around his body in an instant. These voids were almost shattered under the bombardment of violent thunder. As a result, Wu Yu's millions of clones appeared, and the Clone Heaven Rule condensed in an instant and rushed out. The violent thunder vortex formed by the 10,000 thunder vortex heaven rule and the indestructible lightning wings actually completely collapsed at this moment. The millions of clones from Wu Yu released their power in the void and almost died together with the violent thunder vortex. In the starry sky prison, it returned to Qingming. In the previous confrontation, Wu Yu actually suppressed Lei Tianyuan slightly, which surprised many people in the spectator seats. The two emperors, Lei Gong and Dian Mu, looked at each other and saw solemnity in each other's eyes. They were very confident in their son Lei Tianyuan's strength, but just now, Wu Yu used all the power of the heavenly rules together, combined with the terrifying magical power of the law of heaven and earth, and actually resisted Lei Tianyuan's violent attack, which was enough to show that Wu Yu's strength was not bad. We still have to sacrifice the wind and thunder Haoshan stick. Lei Gong said indifferently, the new disciple of Bodhi Patriarch is really amazing. He actually forced Tianyuan to sacrifice the epical artifact. After all, it is Bodhi Patriarch's vision, how can it be bad? Dian Mu laughed, not worried that her son would lose, but the stronger Wu Yu is, the more powerful Tianyuan will be after defeating him. If Wu Yu is vulnerable, it will be meaningless. That's right. Lei Gong laughed. Yang Jian and Yang Jian were also staring at the fierce battle in the starry sky prison. Yang Jian, how do they compare to you? Yang Jian looked indifferent and asked his son indifferently. Yang Jian was extremely cold and said indifferently, they are not as good as me. If the two of them were only at this level, it would only take me half an incense stick of time to defeat them. Okay. Yang Jian nodded and didn't say much. On the other side, beside the tower bearing Li Tianwang, Li Tianji looked at Wu Yu's performance in the field and felt very unhappy. He didn't want to see Wu Yu show off in this Emperor Immortal trial. I really wish it was me who was on the field now, to see how Wu Yu would still be able to show off. Unfortunately, Lei Tianyuan is quite strong, and after this match, Wu Yu might not be on the field anymore, so it's really hard to teach him a lesson. Li Tianji was a little unhappy. Grandpa, do you think that Bodhi Patriarch would deliberately separate him from me and not let us meet? After all, he is also afraid that I will humiliate his disciples in the Emperor Immortal trial like I humiliated the Sword Immortal King, which would not look good. Bodhi Patriarch is fair, Grandpa still believes in this, and you just need to perform well and get the first place in the Emperor Immortal trial. Li Tianwang smiled and asked, Tianji, you look at Lei Tianyuan's strength, if you meet him, how confident are you to win? Of course I am very confident. Li Tianji said nonchalantly, among these people, except for Yang Jian, who is still good, the others are garbage and not worth caring about. I am afraid that only a junior like him dared to say such words. Even if other emperors heard these words, they would be very unhappy. For example, Lei Gong Dian Mu, Donghua Emperor, Xianling Domu Yuanzun and the like, if they knew that Li Tianji called their offspring garbage, I wonder how they would feel in their hearts. Of course, this conversation was blocked by Li Tianwang, and it was impossible for outsiders to know. It has always been Li Tianwang who protected Li Tianji, otherwise this kid would have made many enemies in the whole heaven. Even so, there are still many people who don't like him, but these people dare not say much because of Tianwang's face. In the field, Wu Yu and Lei Tianyuan's battle continued. Lei Tianyuan used all his magical powers and continuously released the power of the heavenly rules, but he couldn't do anything to Wu Yu, which made him a little unhappy. He finally sacrificed his epic artifact, the Wind and Thunder Haoshan stick. This is a 9-jong long thunder stick, with purple lightning wrapped around it and 9 dazzling thunder gems inlaid. Each thunder gem is a huge world filled with endless thunder, Haoshan Thunder Realm. In the Haoshan Thunder Realm, there are billions of divine thunders roaring continuously, and the void is reincarnated and shattered in the roar of divine thunder. The power is huge, especially in Lei Tianyuan's hands. The two sides are incomparably compatible and can release extremely terrifying power. It can be said that Lei Tianyuan, who used the wind and thunder Haoshan stick, is completely different from the previous existence. His strength is at least several times higher. This is the wind and thunder Haoshan stick. Lei Tianyuan stared at Wu Yu with a scorching look in his eyes, with disdain in his eyes. I wanted to use it to break into the top 4, or even enter the finals of the Emperor Immortal trial. Now it seems that I can only use it to defeat you. You should feel honored to be defeated by the wind and thunder Haoshan stick. So much nonsense, do you still want to fight? Wu Yu sneered, not bothering to listen to the other party's nonsense. You. Lei Tianyuan was so angry that he almost died. However, in this battle, as long as he defeated Wu Yu, he could establish his prestige and enter the next round, so he didn't say much nonsense. He stared at Wu Yu, and swung the wind and thunder Haoshan stick in his hand suddenly, forming a huge thunder whirlwind that covered the space where Wu Yu was. Creation Thunder Pond, destroy. The next moment, the 9 gems on the wind and thunder Haoshan stick in his hand suddenly became bright, flashing the eternal ancient thunder light. An endless Haoshan god thunder burst out from the wind and thunder Haoshan stick, forming a rotating creation thunder pond. In this creation thunder pond, even the void was annihilated, revealing an extremely terrifying aura of destruction, which swallowed Wu Yu in an instant. Compared with his 10,000 Thunder Vortex Heavenly Rules and Immortal Electric Wings magical powers just now, the power of the Creation Thunder Pond displayed by the Wind and Thunder Haoshan stick is even more explosive and powerful, and the destructive power exceeds several times. On the viewing platform, the disciples of Bodhi Patriarch became nervous, and some even prayed for Wu Yu. In this Emperor Immortal trial, Wu Yu can be said to be the only hope among the mortals to become immortals. The other immortal kings who cultivated from mortals were basically eliminated in the first round. Wu Yu is not weak, but he met Lei Tianyuan. Who will win? If Wu Yu loses, it will be a pity. Those descendants of Emperor Immortal will laugh at him for a long time, especially the arrogant Li Tianji. In the field, Wu Yu has been completely covered by the Fortune Thunder Pool. Looking around, he can see the rushing Haoshan Divine Thunder, which wants to blow up the void where he is and turn his entire body into ashes. Swallow the heavenly rules. Wu Yu finally used the last of the 9 heavenly rules. Swallowing the heavenly rules grew from the annihilated void like bamboo shoots after rain, bursting out, and continuously swallowed the Haoshan Divine Thunder in the space around his body. Although the Fortune Thunder Pool was terrifying, its power was gradually increasing, and it was impossible to kill or defeat Wu Yu all at once. After the Devouring Heaven rule was used, the power of the Fortune Thunder Pool was almost difficult to increase. Even if there were still violent Haoshan Divine Thunders around, as long as the Haoshan Divine Thunders approached Wu Yu's body, they would be completely swallowed by the Devouring Heaven rule and could not hurt Wu Yu at all. Lei Tianyuan outside naturally did not know about this situation. In his opinion, as long as the Fortune Thunder Pool was maintained for a certain period of time, Wu Yu would have no choice but to die if he did not admit defeat. Just as he thought so, a golden light suddenly burst out from the Fortune Thunder Pool and came towards him. The sky collapsed and the earth split. After Wu Yu stabilized the opponent's offensive with the power of Devouring Heaven rule, he took out the Ruyi Golden Cudgel with one hand and used the first move of the Ruyi Golden Cudgel. The sky collapsed and the earth split.